Hey guys, what's going on? It's Bacon. Welcome back to another Elestrals reveal video for Moonrise. We have introducing Dragolus. Get ready for a blazing hot reveal. So, based on what I know, I've actually seen this card around. I think this is a part of the Kickstarter Clash booster boxes. It's like a prototype version. This is a 3-cost Elestral that is 2 fire, 1 solar, if I'm not mistaken. It might be 2 solar, 1 fire. We'll see. Should be kind of interesting. I'm really excited to see this because Fire has not really had like a big boss for a very long time. We've had Trifernal and we've had Majursa. Those are the only 2 fire bosses we've had. I guess technically speaking, Flammoth's Cryo Scorch. I'll be honest, none of those cards are very good. So let's hope we can get a good 3-cost for Fire.
The sun is shining bright today for my solar casters. I've got a massive reveal for y'all as we count down 32 days until Moonrise pre-orders open on November 15th. Let's get it.
I was thinking it was actually Fire, but it might be Solar.
Don't forget,
I think it's
Kickstarter
both.
backers
I do
get
think it's
these
both.
reveals a day early, and you still have time to back us on Kickstarter for just a few days.
We're almost there. We're almost there.
Elestrals Clash Kickstarter in the description below, and don't you miss out on it. It's going to be epic. And of course, today is Shattered Stars launch day on the 1st, so congratulations. And I hope you have a great time opening up our brand new month of Shattered Stars Scorpio. It's incredible, and it's not too late. You guys can still subscribe at shopelestrals.com. We've got brand new Stellars like Reverse Stellar Jolton, Stellar Arclith, Full Art Stellar Phosphocell. Stained Glass Arts are back with the Spirits. We've got Constellation Arts, and we've got Full Art Stadiums too. Oh my goodness, it is absolutely nuts.
It's gonna be insane, man.
Let's talk about some brand new reveals though, because I've got some really awesome stuff coming, including 3 brand new Solar Elestrals that I actually think are really, really strong. I hate to do this to you, but before I talk about that, I do want to let you guys know that we have weekly webcam, casual, and digital tournaments every single week, and the 9th is our next official premier tournament, and you don't want to miss it. So check it out in the description below. You can head to our Play Network at play.elestrals.com and sign up for our next event. I'm super stoked about it. The metagame has been very dynamic. It's been a ton of fun. So join our next webcam event on the 9th. All right, first reveal today is a brand new Solar Elestral, and it is a Nexus form of Cockatoodle. And Cockare. Cockare is a 4-attacker with 1 defense that has a really cool effect. This Cockare cannot be suppressed, which means that you can't suppress it.
You can't suppress it. Awesome. Love that. That's really freaking good.
No matter what. When you activate First Light,
that also means, oh, I've muted it. What? My bad. That also, if I'm not mistaken, means that you can't target it. Well, no, you can target it with Gorgon's Gaze. It's just, it won't get suppressed. So you'll still be able to no, because is that how that works? It negates the Gorgon's Gaze negates the effect on the chain if it's already there. It's weird. That's interesting, but it won't be able to negate like a continuous effect. I don't know. I don't know if this can be Gorgon's Gaze. It's kind of interesting to see, but let's see.
You can special send this Cockare to Dracare from your hand or deck. What this
That's very good already. Very good already.
Before you use the effect of First Light, you can use the effect of Cockare.
Well, you activate it.
Special send it into Dracare, and then you would do your First Light and stack the top of your deck. This is really important because it means that you don't invalidate the stacking that First Light gets you, and allows you to hit the field with something really, really strong.
Very interesting.
And Dracare is no joke. Dracare hits the field as a 1 solar, 1 fire Elestral.
Man, that is so freaking easy, man. You just cast what's it called? Cockare. You cast Cockare, activate First Light, boom, you have a 7 attacker. That's insane.
Well, surprise, 7 attack and 3 defense, and it's got a really good effect. When you cast this Dracare, you can return up to 3 solar.
That's insane. What?
Spirit deck. So you get immediate value just by casting this thing out. You immediately.
Granted, early game that's bad.
Don't forget, if you did the First Light, you stacked your deck as well. During your draw phase, you can expend a Fire Spirit in order to special ascend this Dracare to Dragalis from your deck. So you don't want it in your.
That's insane. Am I going crazy, or is this like one of the greatest Ascension lines ever? Already, the very first part of it in Cockare cannot be suppressed. Therefore, the effect is likely to act. Again, I don't know how that works, like Gorgon's Gaze and stuff. But obviously, can't be hit by Dense Fog, stuff like that. Can't be hit by a bunch of the Lunar cards, which is already very, very powerful. You activate First Light, you ascend yourself into the Dracare, and then as long as it stays alive for a turn, which to be fair to 7 attacker, chances are your opponent, the only way they're going to be able to deal with this is with a removal card. You just expend the fire, ascend into a Dragalis, and you're also healing spirits on top of it. And you've also stacked your deck. Like, this seems insane. Am I going crazy?
Special send this Draco Ray to Dragalis from your deck. So you don't want it in your hand. If it's in your deck, though, you can make this thing.
Let's see what Dragalis is.
Absolutely nuts. And again, the payoff of getting the heal right away is so valuable with this card. And if you can get out Dragalis, you're going to do some serious damage to your opponents. Dragalis hits the field with a massive 13 attack stat and 5 defense with a 2-cost solar and 1-cost
sick
fire
artwork,
with
by the
a very
way.
powerful effect. You can expend a Fire Spirit in order to suppress each face-up card on an opponent's field until the end phase. That means their stadium is suppressed, their Elestrals are suppressed, their effects are shut off, their Divines are suppressed. Everything is suppressed. You're suppressing the entire field on your opponent's side. You can enchant a Solar Spirit from your Spirit deck and or Underworld. So again, more healing of Solar Spirits to this Dragalis up to the number of cards suppressed this way.
Am I going insane, or is this one of the best cards we've seen? What on earth? The thing is, it's not even that expensive. Like, if you do this early on, it's a little expensive, to be fair. But if you do it early on, with the Kakare, you activate your First Light. That spirit that you used to cast the First Light will now be in your Underworld. So, when you bring out the Draco Ray, you'll get that spirit back. Then, as long as the Draco Ray stays alive for a turn, expend the fire, ascend the Dragalis, which not only is a mass suppression by expending 1 fire, you also get to enchant Solar from your Underworld to it for every card suppressed that way. And it doesn't even need to be from the Underworld. It can also be from your Spirit deck. So if you don't have a whole lot in your Underworld, you get to enchant. This just is a boatload of damage. So the one thing I'm noticing is that this is another one of those Ascension lines that is susceptible to counter runes. For example, what's its face? Draco Ray is susceptible to like PTA. Technically speaking, Kakare is not, because as long as you have a First Light in hand, you can do this without having the PTA like affect it. This is affected by Gorgon's Gaze. I'm not entirely certain about the Kakare. The Draco Ray, though, is susceptible to Gorgon's Gaze. To be fair, it's still a 7 attacker, so maybe you don't care about the Gorgon's Gaze. I feel like Gorgon's Gaze actually doesn't really hurt it all that much. There are 2 counter runes that I'm afraid of in this deck, and it's going to be Shield of Achilles and Tsunami. So let's talk about Shield of Achilles first. Yes, Shield of Achilles. Okay, typically I don't think you're actually really going to be attacking with the Draco Ray. Maybe if it's like mid game, I could see cast with the Draco Ray. I could see potentially attacking with the Draco Ray to get a bit of damage, and then you could just shield it back to your hand. To be fair, that is them expending 3, and you just healed 3, so that is a big swing in Spirit, so I'm not too interested in that one. Dragalis is the same thing, though. It is susceptible to the Shield of Achilles. You obviously want to attack with this guy, because you're going to be enchanting a bunch. But the one card I'm very, very worried about is Tsunami. Because Tsunami can shift these guys to defense, and as you can see, the Dragalis has 5 defense. 5 defense is like fine. Obviously, there's a bunch of cards like Ashdrabbit has 5 defense. We've seen Voldusk has 5 defense. That's a high stat line, but it's a high stat line for a 1 cost. For a 3 cost, it's not the best thing in the world. And if they shift your guy to defense and they have a way to attack over it with like a 2 cost guy, maybe even like, for example, what if they're playing water and they just drop a station? Boom, they can attack over this guy if it's in defense. And if they're playing water, chances are they're playing Tsunami. So it is susceptible to counter runes, but I feel like the counter rune that hurts it the most is Tsunami. And Tsunami is actually seeing a lot less play nowadays. It's still seeing good play here and there. In fact, there's still a lot of decks playing at 3. But I feel like a lot of decks are starting to drop it. A lot of decks, mostly Shield of Achilles, is starting to lose a little bit of favor. But Tsunami is right around that corner. And I think the main reason for that is that we're seeing a lot of like water guys, like Eddie is seeing a ton of play in a bunch of different decks. And obviously Tsunami does not affect Eddie. I expect Eddie to see more play in Moonrise because so far I have not seen anything that like power creeps Eddie or anything like that. But this is very interesting. I will say that right now. This is an incredibly interesting way to run your solar deck. And unfortunately, I was hoping this was actually going to be fire because I would have loved to run this in fire. But unfortunately, I don't really think it's going to be possible to run it in fire. You might be able to run it in like fire with like, for example, Necruff maybe. Like, but like you're not going to be able to run like Kinleo to next as a bunch of spirits off of like a Hephaestus or a Volcanic Forge to pop a guy. You're not going to be able to do that necessarily because you don't have a very good way to get fires on your board in a deck that is really, really looking for solars. Obviously, we've seen the Kakare has to activate First Light, which not only is a solar card, it stacks a solar Elestral. We see Draco Ray, which heals 3 solar specifically. And then obviously we see Dragulus, which enchants solar. Yes, these guys also have fire effects, but for the most part, they are a primary solar Ascension line. I think it's very, very cool. I would have loved to see this in fire because I feel like fire needed this a lot more than solar, but nonetheless, it's a cool couple of cards. I think it's very, very interesting. I don't really know exactly how you would play these. You know, there's a little bit more to the video. Let's actually keep going. I don't really think there's much else, but let's see.
Their Elestrals are suppressed. Their effects are shut off.
Let's move on.
Spirit from your spirit deck and or Underworld. So again, more healing of solar spirits.
I think we saw this.
And then you can enchant it even more with all the things
I believe that's basically all it is, but let's see what he says.
This thing now has 6 spirits on it, and they can be healed from the Underworld. Talk about insane value. Solar getting a massive heavy hitter with a little bit of fire intertwined. I think Dragalis is going to be a really strong card, and I can't wait to see what you guys brew up with First Light decks, all the new Foretell cards, all the brand new Solar cards. A lot of really exciting stuff here. Even though it's Moonrise, Solar is still getting
looks like, yeah, okay, that's it.
In the comment section.
That is, in fact, it. So the interesting part about this is how exactly are we running this in a deck? How are we building our Solar decks to accommodate this? We could just throw it in as the Celestleo, as the Lustragon boss Elestral of the deck. The issue is that, though, a lot of those decks in the past really love running like a boatload of solar. I feel like, though, you can substitute some of those solars for fire. I think probably the way to run it would be the 3-2-1 kind of thing. I think 3 Kakare, 2 Draco Ray, and 1 Dragalis. I could potentially see 2 Dragalis. But for the most part, I think 1 is probably the best way to do it. And to be entirely honest, this is another one of those decks that can run like Thunder. You can run like Rise from the Ashes because you're able to enchant those spirits from your Underworld to this card, and then you can just use that to get a Rise from the Ashes. However, the issue with that is that I really would like a Rise from the Ashes to I would like to use my Rise from the Ashes to bring this guy back rather than using it off of it, but it is something to know. I feel like you probably run some Jatoras, probably some Lumarus just to get a bit of a bigger beater on your board. Corvishine is probably something you would run. I could also see Necruff as just, once again, a big beater, and maybe some Eddies in there. That's, I feel like, realistically all you need for Celestial count. I mean, you have like some good removal on Eddie, some big beaters. Maybe you don't have to run like Necruff or anything like that. I think maybe not even Lumaru. Like there's a couple of things right there. Oh, you would probably be running what's it called? What's that card called? Nebuleo. You would probably be running Nebuleo because they can foretell First Lights and then add those First Lights to your hand. I could very, very much see that. And obviously that is still a big guy. Maybe for the runes as well. Your typical counter runes like Gorgons, PTA, Tsunami since you're already on some water. I could even say Chains of Prometheus. I feel like, though, Chains isn't the best card in the world for this. It's fine, but the issue with Chains of Prometheus is that it's a big swing in spirits just to negate 1 counter rune. It costs 2 and your opponent heals 1. I don't really feel like Chains is actually a very good card, despite the fact that we were expecting it to see a ton of play in fire decks. it really hasn't worked out that way. It just is not as good of a card as we suspected. So, you know, it just hasn't really caught on. I'm just kind of theory crafting it. And to be entirely honest, the main reason I'm theory crafting, I freaking love this card. I love this entire Ascension line. I think it's really, really cool. Very, very interesting. This is probably one of my favorite things I've seen so far in Moonrise. It's very interesting. This is an unbelievably... such an unbelievably cool deck for us to get. Again, I really wish it was in Fire rather than Solar. Technically, it's in both, but clearly you are meant to play this in Solar. Beside that, though, I think this is very, very cool, and I'm excited to do a little bit of testing. So, guys, I've rambled on a bit long enough. That's going to do it for this video. Hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, make sure you slap the like button and subscribe for more. Hope to see all you guys in the next video. Goodbye.